Hey everybody, it's GauntletX and welcome back to some more Magic Arena, and today marks the release of Phyrexia All Will Be One's Alchemy cards, so we will be playing a Premier Draft of that Alchemy format in just a moment. That is going to be a normal Premier Draft of Phyrexia All Will Be One, except one common in each pack will be replaced with a brand new Alchemy card. Before we get into that though, as always with a new set release, make sure to check your mail, grab your free booster packs, and bust them open. Even if you're not interested in Alchemy, these packs do contain some commons and uncommons from the regular Phyrexia All Will Be One set. So without further ado, let's get into the draft. Alright, here we are for pack 1, pick 1 of our draft. We have 2 rares in this pack because again, you do get an Alchemy card in each pack. The brand new rare is the Bladehold Cleaver, which looks pretty powerful. Essentially for 4 mana, we are getting a 2/2 Rebel that is equipped with +2/+2, so a 4/4 for 4. And when the equipped creature dies, we get to draft a card from this spellbook. So every time that our equipped creature dies, we get to pull another card out of the spellbook and into our hand. There's a lot of commons in here, but there's also some powerful rares and mythics we could get on the spellbook. The spellbook mechanics let us choose 1 out of 3 at random. So 4 mana 4/4 that dies into a card, like draws us a card when it dies, already pretty good, and then we can move the equipment around, potentially draw more cards. Pretty excited about Bladehold Cleaver. Kaito's also pretty solid, but Kaito is not a brand new card that I've never played with before, so we'll go with the Bladehold Cleaver here. If that weren't in the pack, I think the pick would pretty clearly be Kaito, but there's not really any great commons or uncommons here competing with those powerful rares. Pack 1, pick 2 now, we have Tekathal Inquiry Dominus as the rare in the pack, which is unfortunately not as good as it looks. It's kind of just a 4 mana 3/5 flyer. You can potentially get some Proliferate synergies with it, or maybe get lucky and get that indestructible counter on it, but it hasn't played super good in the format. It's a fine card, it's a solid card, but I think we're in a perfectly reasonable position to just stick to our Pack 1, pick 1, and take a really efficient removal spell here. Hexcold Slash is a 1 mana instant for 2 to a creature or 4 to a creature with Toxic. Plays incredibly well in this aggressive format. It's pretty much always going to trade up in mana, where you're spending 1 mana to kill their 2 mana or 3 mana card, sometimes even their 4 mana card if you're killing a Toxic creature, and it's just instant speed interaction to stop early aggro, so Slash is just incredible. It's a very good follow-up to the Bladehold Cleaver. We'll take that there. Pack 1, pick 3, another expensive blue mythic, RIP, blue as a color. That is very sad. No Alchemy cards in this pack either. We have a couple decent follow-ups to Hexcold Slash Bladehold Cleaver. We have Furnace Strider being a nice card at the top end of the curve. 5 mana 4/5 haste gives another creature haste, or the Justiciar as a nice little cheap lifelinker. This one you do want to have a lot of artifacts for, so we want to pick up a lot of like equipment and artifact creatures to get this to trigger. But it is a 2-drop, which tends to be a little more important. Make sure that you have that slot full on your curve in this aggressive format, so I'll take Justiciar here. We could take Jin-Gitaxias, but even if I was in blue, Jin-Gitaxias is actually a little bit sketchy in this format. Even the most powerful 7 mana cards like Jin-Gitaxias and Kaya, that almost always win you the game after you play them, are a lot worse in this format than most, just because it tends to play incredibly aggressively. For pack 1, pick 4, again, no brand new Alchemy cards in the pack, so we will just take the best card in the pack, which is Rebel Salvo. Very similar to Hexcold Slash in terms of why we're taking this, just super efficient removal. Best card in the pack. Second best card is probably Contagious Vorak in green, then it's Resistance Skywarden in red, then Duelist Deep Faith, and Hive Master being pretty equivalent. But yeah, Rebel Salvo is the best card. We can just scoop that up and stick to our red-white start here. Pack 1, pick 5. I don't really like any of these cards except for Ambulatory Edifice, which is a very strong card in black if you are playing against 1 toughness creatures. Your opponent can play a turn 2 Justiciar or Batterfist or something like that. You follow up with a turn 3 Edifice and just kill it for just 2 life. Can be a really good card. It's definitely the best card in this pack by far, and we're not really missing anything on color out of red or white. Just a Cackler, which cares about oil counters, not really what red-white is doing, more of a red-green card. Not even great in there. Then Rebuke for slow removal. We already have 2 much more efficient removal spells than this, so we don't have to take that highly. And then, yeah, the only other good card's like Annihilating Glare, which is also in black and a little worse than Edifice, so we'll just go Edifice there. Stay a little open. Just keep taking the best card in the pack unless the red or white best card is only a little bit worse than the off-color best card. Pack 1, pick 6. Kinda nothing much in here. There's Branch Blight Stalker for all-in toxic strategies. There's Incisor Glider. We can get some Corrupted going. I feel like Aspirant will probably be a little bit better in red-white. Not a ton, because 3-mana cards are a lot more replaceable than 2-mana cards, because you can run a ton of 2-mana creatures in this format, but when you get to 3-mana creatures, you don't want to have a mountain of them. But this does synergize a lot more, specifically with what we're doing, but Incisor Glider is still good at picking up equipment. Like, it could still be the pick here, but I'll just go Aspirant for now. Now we have Blazing Crescendo for a pretty great red combat trick, or Mirren Bardiche, a fine filler top-end card. We only need like one Bardiche. I'm not going to take it super highly, I'll just take Crescendo here. Off-color cards, Raptor and Headcleaver are also fine, but they're not particularly better than like Crescendo here. I think everything's just fine in the pack. Ooh, pick 8. Engraver and Skywarden. Skywarden is really good at holding some equipment. 5/5 Menace Reach. Make it a Menace Vigilance or just an 8/8 Menace Reach with Cleaver and stuff like that. I do like it a lot at the top end. Engraver's really good early game though. Blocks really well and then gives you that card filtering, making sure that you don't flood out in the late game. I think I still go Skywarden over Engraver, but it's pretty close. I just think Skywarden's just a really nice, very large body. You play like one Furnace in here. I'm not going to be super excited about it, but I'm not going to play Rebuke or Demolition, so be it. Pick 10, Thrill of Possibility, and Urbrask's Anointer. The only on-color cards, they don't really do anything, though. Guess I'll just take the higher rarity card, throw it in the sideboard. Take a Prophetic Prism in case really weird things happen. Free from Flesh. Sinew Dancer's not going to work in a red deck, because we are not going to corrupt our opponent. Toss a Gleeful Demolition aside, toss a Custodian aside, and the only thing that I know for sure is that we're in red. So here we have a March Toward Perfection out of the Alchemy cards, which is actually pretty good. So for 1 mana, we make it to the next Phyrexian creature spell we cast comes in with a +1/+1 counter and a Death Touch counter. And then we get to draft the random Phyrexian creature to play with it. So 1 mana, draw a card of our choice out of 3, most of the cards being pretty decent. Not bad at all. I could see ending up in black-red here with this Edifice being so late, and the fact that we only have Justiciar and Bladehold Cleaver for red-white. Also, Nahiri's just not the greatest Planeswalker. If we can get to an empty hand, then the +1 does just straight up draw us a card. That's the best thing she can do. You could also discard some cards with good Enter the Battlefield effects and reanimate them for the 0, but they will get exiled in the end step, so you need good Enter the Battlefield effects for that. So it's Nahiri or March. I guess we could just go Nahiri here. I mean, I don't think I've actually played her yet. She's not super powerful, but she is pretty fun if you can get her to work. So, while we might not be playing with the newest stuff ever, we do still get to play the Bladehold Cleaver, and be the first time we get to try to really make Nahiri work, which can be fun. Pack 2, pick 2, probably just Jawbone Duelist. Like, it holds the Bladehold Cleaver pretty well. Also Duelist to Deep Faith. I think I prefer the Jawbone Duelist. This is worse with Barbed Batterfists if we find any of those, but right now we do not have any Barbed Batterfists. Pack 2, pick 3. Definitely in a draft pod full of everybody just wanting to play all the Alchemy cards, which is fair enough. They are brand new, but it looks like we're not going to get too much to play with today, so we're really happy to have our Pack 1, pick 1 Bladehold Cleaver at the very least. Get 1 Alchemy card in this deck. Here I think we just take Chimney Rabble. Ridiculously good 4-drop, spitting out a 3/3 haste and a 1/1 goblin off of just 1 card is super good. Passing up on a Skitterfang, which is a little sad because this is quite good on attacks, but I think there's a lot of really good 3-mana cards. I suppose I do already have 1 at 4 mana, the Bladehold Cleaver. Nahiri's kind of a 3-drop sometimes. I'm going to go Rabble over Skitterfang. Really close, though. I think they're both exceptional cards. Look at our curve. Move our non-creature cards out of this curve. Definitely looking for some 1-mana stuff to do, ideally. Oh. Phyrexian Harvester, quadruple red for a 5/5 menace. When it's dealt damage, seek that many non-land cards, discard them at your next end step. So get a bunch of cards you can only play till the next turn. We gotta just take Rebel Salvo, right? There's no way I'm mono red. I have no 2-drops and only 1 3-drop if I try to go mono red. There's no possible way that it's got to be Rebel Salvo, right? That's so hard to cast. It actually just seems worse than like Phyrexian Obliterator. I'm going to take Rebel Salvo here. I was actually legitimately tempted for a moment there. Oh my god, I guess we could have just been mono red. What? Well, this is a very gauntlet draft pod today. If red is just going to be so wide open. Well, now we found an alchemy card. 5 mana 4/4 flyer. When it enters the battlefield, if there are no non-basics in your library, deal 3 to any target. So just, okay, goodbye, Autonomous Furnace. 5 mana 4/4 flyer that deals 3 to something when it hits the board? That's ridiculous. That's actually insane. In draft, that is a slam dunk pickup there. Maybe we'll wheel the mythic rare red card with how open red is, but somebody's probably going to rare draft it by then, to be honest. Alright, we'll go ahead and get another 2-drop here, taking Sizer Glider over Hazardous Blast. If I took the quadruple red card, we'd happily take the blast, but I want to make sure I have 2-drop creatures because I'm not guaranteed to be able to be that mono red deck. Wow, now we get a Bladehold War Whip. Pack 2 picks 7 here. Incredible card for our deck on 3 mana. 3 mana 2/2 double strike, then move our equipment over. It also makes our other equip costs cheaper, so our Bladehold Cleaver gets a little better. Yeah, this looks like a sick deck. Also a Chimney Rabble still in there, which is wild as well. Another Justiciar. Blast is fine, but I just like running 1 blast. And at this rate, it looks like I can get all the Hazardous Blasts. Yeah, I can get all the Hazardous Blasts in the world nice and late. Take 1 there. Take a Shrapnel Slinger now, so I do have some 2-drops in mono red as well. Just in case. If I wheel that mythic rare red card, I will take it and try to do that, but I don't think it's happening because I think its next pack is where it would be. We've pretty much got a 23-card deck here. Just Boros equipment stuff. It's looking great. I am incredibly happy to be in red in this draft pod. I think red is 100% the correct color. I don't think I should be red-white. White doesn't seem particularly open. But our most prominent color in this deck needs to be red in this draft pod, just period. No matter what secondary stuff we're doing. Plenty of great non-creature cards. I'm going to take a second Aspirant there. But yeah, we're getting like pick 13s where the 2 cards left in the pack are both reasonable options in red to put in our deck. This is 100% the color. Well, how married am I to white? I have Bladehold Warwhip and Bladehold Cleaver. That feels pretty married. I don't think I'm pivoting to red-green, but I could try to splash in a Miglaws. I've got 1 Prophetic Prism. Likely not worth it with 1 Prism. Although in our last quick draft, we did a ton of splashing for a bunch of bombs. I think I'm supposed to just take Hexgold Hoverwings here. Nice, consistent 2-color strategy is good enough for me. Our Alchemy card is another black card, so we can't play that one here. Yeah, Hoverwings is still really, really strong in this deck. I'll just go for that. So everybody's been passing us all kinds of sweet red cards, so we gotta share the love a little bit, give somebody a Miglaws. Now we'll take an Ossification for exceptional removal. There's also a Fuseling, which would be great. Scales up as the game progresses, gets bigger and bigger as things are dying. Scamp is also a fine little aggressive card. Little Raging Goblins get in there with haste, beat your opponent down, and whenever it's too small to keep attacking, you get to start tapping it to deal the damage to them. Quite often. Also another good 2-drop, the Duelist, the Deep Faith, but take an Ossification. Third Aspirant or first Crawling Chorus. I'm not trying to corrupt my opponent, but I do want more cheap creatures, ideally. have one card that cares about Corrupted, the Incisor Glider, and trying to get there off one Crawling Chorus is going to be very difficult. Yeah, I'm just going to take a third Blade Graft Aspirant. I'm not going to play Vanish into Eternity. We have much more efficient removal spell between Hexgold / Ossification double Rebel Salvo. That's not going to make the cut. Another 2-drop here, just throw in a Shrapnel Slinger, I guess. Seems fine. Helm's also fine. But out of all the equipment, this one really kind of doesn't do anything when you move it around. Play the Slinger. Ooh, we found a 1-drop. And it's an Alchemy card, so it's a brand new one. 1 mana 2/1, make one of our equipment cards in our hand cost only 1 to equip. That could actually be busted. If I can play this turn 1 and then make a War Whip in my hand, cost 1 mana to move around, that's absurd. Yeah, that could be really fun. Kemba's Outfitter, easily the choice there. Now an easy Volt Charge. Again, red just being wide open. Complete Devotion is generally a great combat trick in white, but we don't have enough toxic creatures to be very happy with it. Planar Disruption and Annex Sentry are both phenomenal, but I'm going to go for the Annex Sentry here because it lets us put a creature on board while we are exiling opposing stuff. But Disruption would also be great. We'll go for Annex Sentry. Volshock Splitter looks fine. Already have 3 4-mana things, but I'm not going to play a Goldborn's Helm. I think at 5 3-drops, I think I like all my other ones better. I could play a 4th 4-drop, that might be okay. Especially with 3 copies of Aspirant, it gets a little more reasonable. I like Axiom Engraver better than another Incisor Glider, even though the Glider, because it's a flyer, can wear these equipment pretty well. I just really like Engraver's ability to get us out of mana flood late game. Pretty happy to do that. We're definitely not playing Rebuke, likely not playing Free From Flesh. Could still play Crescendo, but I gotta make room. I don't think I should be playing Nahiri, but I'm probably going to. I mean, you've got to, right? Gotta do the thing. I don't know what we're cutting at this point. Their stuff is so good. And yeah, another Sawblade Scamp now. Lightbringer does, like, it tells you what you want to do right on the card. It's clearly made for the red-white equipment deck, but all it gets is +1/+1, so it's just a 4/3. Biggest, it's not that exciting of an ability. I don't tend to run it incredibly often. It does end up in the deck, but not really, like, scooping it up here. Might cut Duelist, honestly. I don't know, we definitely have some choices how we want to finish building this deck. Definitely have some choices. Let's get into the deck building. So we're onto our deck building now. We definitely have the curve and the removal to go for a really, really aggressive deck, which I think is pretty much always what we want to do in this format when we can. Means we want to take out some of the slowest cards in here and really lean on our aggressive curve plus removal to keep the board clear, end the game before our opponent can really stabilize. So, not in love with Hazardous Blast in red-white, especially in this deck. And this is really just doing what red-white wants to do in this format, which is just dump out a creature and just blow up all of our opponent's early game creatures, where since we're trading all these cheap removal into their creatures while we're beating down, we're not really going to have much left for us to blast. We're trying to keep the board clear as we curve out rather than in the end having a really wide board and then pushing everything in. That's more of a green-red kind of thing. So I think Hazardous Blast is much better in those kind of archetypes. I don't think it's necessary here. 3 5-drops is a little bit high. Probably want to cut one of these. I feel like Skywarden and Scorchwing are just the best here, because they're both somewhat evasive, and Scorchwing's also just incredible, so we probably drop Furnace Strider, even though it does get that haste damage in, potentially. Like the other two better. Bladehold Cleaver, Splitter, Chimney Rabble, Hoverwings. My least favorite 4-drop is Splitter. I also still really don't love Nahiri in here, because we don't have any ways to really shove an equipment in our graveyard outside of using the discard a card, draw a card effect. So the primary use of Nahiri in this deck is going to be the primary use of Nahiri in most decks, which is trying to get to a point where we have 0 cards in hand and then starting to use this to draw a card every turn. At which case Nahiri kind of plays like a Phyrexian Arena or Cosmos Elixir, which I don't think either of those cards would be great in this format, where you have to just spend 4 mana, don't really affect the board in terms of attackers and blockers immediately, to start accruing value over time. Just feels like it's not quick enough or aggressive enough. I'm not in love with Nahiri. I'm probably am going to cut her in the end like I was saying I was going to potentially do there. Definitely keep in Volt Charge Double Salvo, War Whip, Annex Sentry. Triple Aspirant might be a bit much. We can maybe cut one of those. Crescendo. It's our worst non-creature left. All these removal spells are definitely not getting cut, so we can maybe cut Crescendo. Our 2-mana creatures are all pretty interchangeably powerful. They're all similar levels of filler, like decent filler. I do think I kind of want to cut Duelist, though, especially if I cut Hazardous Blast, because I'm already going to cut Volshock Splitter, so we'll have one equipment in the whole deck that actually buffs it. I guess Hoverwings would as well, but most of the value of Duelist is that Toxic ability, and it's just really good with combat tricks, and I don't think we really care. We're not really playing combat tricks. Not in love with it here. Not in love with Slingers either, but honestly just 2-mana 2/2s on curve might just be better. Alright, I don't think I'm cutting any of the 1-drop creatures, because they get us just off the ground running really fast. Get that ball rolling, so 6 cuts out of these cards. We are currently sitting at 17 creatures and 4 equipment, which is like 21 creatures. That's a lot. So let's go ahead and cut Splitter for sure before anything else. I think I'm going to cut Duelist, cut Strider, maybe leave Triple Aspirant, and then just cut these 3 non-creatures. Seems fine to me. It can be a little high on the creature count because we have some of our creatures being equipment that we get to move around, so they're kind of like creatures and spells. So we're going to be at basically 18 creatures with this deck. Although I could also cut a land. I do really like my Scorchwing playing that turn 5 every game, but when our average cost is going to be kind of low here, 2.8. Cut a land over anything. Am I just cutting it over Crescendo? Because Crescendo can kind of dig for the land. Yeah, it seems fine. Cut these 2, leave Crescendo, cut a land. Puts us at 17 red cards and 9 white. I'm going to go 9-7 split then. Call it a deck there. Alright, and here's a look at the final deck we'll be playing today. Going to be another sweet Boros Equipment aggro deck. We have definitely seen a lot of these on the channel before. Great efficient removal is available in these colors, and we have tons of it in this deck between Salvos, Volt Charges, Ossifications, and Hex Gold Slash. Going to use all those to keep the board cleared and keep our creatures getting in for damage. Tons of solid filler 2-drops into some great 3-drop creatures, some nice synergy pieces like the Aspirants to make our equipment cheaper, and some powerful 4-mirrored equipment like Bladehold War Whip, and a couple fancy new alchemy cards. One of them is the Kemba's Outfitter that can make one of our more expensive equipment, like the Bladehold War Whip, cost only 1 mana to equip, which is absurd. And then the other new alchemy card is Bladehold Cleaver, which is another equipment that we can start moving around for potentially only 1 mana with Kemba's Outfitter, but even if it does cost the 3 to move around, this is basically a 4-mana 4/4 that draws us a card when it dies. Our choice out of 3 of these in the spellbook at random, and some of them are very, very powerful cards. So could hit some spicy stuff off the Bladehold Cleaver. Should be a lot of fun there. And last but certainly not least, at the top end of our curve, we have Chimney Rabble, Hex Gold Hoverwings being great aggressive 4-drops, the Sky Warden being just beefy and hard to block at 5 mana, and probably the best card in the deck, another alchemy card, the Magmatic Scorchwing, a 5-mana 4/4 flying dragon. When it enters the battlefield, if there are no non-basic land cards in your library, it will deal 3 damage to any target. And since this is draft, that's a very, very easy restriction to hit. So 5 mana 4/4 flyer, good late game evasive threat that clears something off the board when it hits the battlefield. Ridiculous card. So that's the deck we're going to be playing today. Without further ado, let's just get into the gameplay and see how it does. Alright, here we are on the play for game 1. Solid keep here. We've got a creature on 2. We've got a Hexcult Slash for interaction if they're on an early aggressive curve. We have a really nice card to play on 4. Hopefully this plays pretty well, this Bladehold Cleaver. We'll find out this game. So drop out the Glider and pass the turn. Pestilent Siphoner will start things off for our opponent. Pretty interested in staying uncorrupted, so I think I'm just going to hold up my tricks here, but not attack with Glider, so I can just block. And if they go for a complete devotion to try to kill Glider, we can really get them. Alright, Norn's Fetchling is their next play. New Alchemy card. It's going to put a Plains into their hand, and if they played it later in the game when we were corrupted, it would get a non-land card instead. So it did conjure that Plains, so it doesn't do any deck thinning or anything like that. Alright, we've got Cleaver next turn. I'm going to be mana efficient here and use my 3 mana removal spell to kill Siphoner, because Hexcult Slash is going to do 4 damage to pretty much anything in their black-white deck. And it's going to do it for only 1 mana. The biggest reason to play Volt Charge there being that it's mana efficient. So that if I need to kill something else later, I can play, you know, Hover Wings and Hexcult Slash in the same turn. A lot easier than playing that and Volt Charge in the same turn. I don't think that the 3 damage to their face is going to be more relevant than the mana reduction we get from playing the cheaper removal spell there. They've got a bunch of blockers. They could triple block this 4/4, but I think I'm still just going to send it in and then play Hover Wings. Don't get to hold any mana up by doing that, but still very, very tempting. Okay, just double checking the Cleaver to make sure that it's just when this exact creature dies, which it is. If it was any equipped creature we control dies, that would be so good. So that when we lose our Hover Winged creature, we'd still draw a card. That'd be phenomenal. Alright, opponent's just over it here. They've got a lot of pretty small creatures, like the toxic decks tend to do, lots of 1/1s and stuff, so if you can just curve out with some beefier creatures, you can make some board states that are really hard for them to get stuff done in. And if you are on the play like we were as well, make it really difficult for them to corrupt us in their early game, which shuts off a lot of their more powerful plays, so they're just already over it here with a bunch of 1/1s on board against a bunch of 2 toughness creatures. Just going to be too hard to break in, and they're over it. We're going to move on to game 2. Here we are in game 2. Our opponent will be on the play here. I really like this hand. Turn 1 Outfitter, turn 2 Glider, turn 3 Aspirant, and whenever we play Hover Wings, its equip cost is going to be 1. 1 generic mana, which does mean we could equip it to an Aspirant for free, because any equip costs that target an Aspirant cost 1 less. So a lot of fun little synergy going on with this hand. Start off with our turn 1 Outfitter. Our opponent is on green-white with a very fancy Razor Verge Thicket, the rare dual land to start it off. Mandible Justiciar is their turn 2 play. Got an Incisor Glider. I guess the Outfitter could block it even if they play an artifact. It can block it as a 3/2. So there's an argument for not attacking here, but I'm still going to go for it. Just hope they don't have a follow-up artifact next turn. Okay, they probably have an artifact here. We'll find out. Here's Incisor Glider. They don't play an artifact this turn, then Glider just blocks Justiciar without even dying, which is really bad for them. There's a March Toward Perfection, so they get to draft a random Phyrexian creature, their choice out of 3 different random options. And then whenever they play a Phyrexian creature, it comes in with a +1/+1 counter and a Death Touch counter. So really nice card. 1 mana, draw a guaranteed creature. And when you play that creature, it's going to be even better than it usually is. Luckily though, our opponent does not have any artifacts to play that turn. Does it make it an artifact or anything fancy? No, it's not going to make the Phyrexian an artifact, but some of them are in the spellbook. Yeah, there's like Revoker, Vault Scourge, Rager, Convert, Chronicler, Jailer, and Flesh Gorger. There's a few artifacts they could be playing here to get the Justiciar going in. I don't think I play around it, though. I think I'm still going to be playing Aspirant here. Let's just stay aggressive. And they're just going for the trade here. Yep, just going for the trade. Cool. So here is Bladegraft Aspirant, and we will pass the turn. Phyrexian Rager was their choice. Really good to draw that off the March toward Perfection because it comes out as a 3/3 Death Toucher and still draws you another card. Very, very nice one. Ooh, Bladehold Cleaver is the draw. That's exciting, but it will be 3 mana to equip. It didn't get the cost reduction that the Hover Wings did. I don't need to give anything flying right now. Aspirant already can't be blocked by this Rager. So, could just do that here. Seems reasonable. Cleaver's a great creature to trade into the Rager because we draw a card when it dies. We draft a card from the spellbook. Now I can still play Hover Wings and put it on the Aspirant for free next turn. If they play more creatures on the ground that way, I'll still have a pretty much unblockable creature. A Flying Menace creature, just really, really hard to get the creatures to stop that from hitting you. Drown an Ichor on the 4/4. I believe we still... Yeah, we do draft a card from the spellbook. Oh my god. Hero of Oxid Ridge feels like the choice, but Mirran Crusader is close too. Those are both insane. I guess Mirran Crusader has protection from like their whole deck. They're on black-green with 1 white land on board. Yeah, I'll take the Mirran Crusader. Both would be ridiculous here. What a couple of options there. Oh my god, I draw into the Scorchling as well. I don't have the mana for it, unfortunately. Play Crusader here. I kind of want to just go for the Hover Wings play. I get to hold up Salvo by doing that. Don't hold up Salvo if I play Crusader. Yeah. Play Hover Wings. Can move it over to the Aspirant for free if I want, but I'm kind of cool with blocking their 3/3 with my 3/2. And using Rebel Salvo on the Rager. If I picked up that Hero of Oxid Ridge, I probably would have just tapped out for that turn and gotten aggressive. Which would have been fine. There's a Norn's Wellspring. Very slow kind of card advantage, card draw engine. They get to scry every time a creature dies, and every time 2 creatures have died, they get to start drawing cards. Use Rhea Evor on Phyrexian Rager, so if the Rager hits me, they get 4 mites that can't block. Ooh, I could just blow up Rhea and they have 0 blockers. 3 for 5, 6 damage on board. No haste, though. Yeah, it's close to tempting to try to just crack back at them, but I think I'm just going to wipe the board outside of their Rhea. Still seems good enough to me to be winning this game here. They will get to start drawing cards off Wellspring. They'll draw 1 card next turn. Okay. Just this year's the draw, so I can just play that or Crusader. Pretty easily feels like I just play Crusader then. I guess I could put Cleaver on the Aspirant. Or on the Glider. No, I'm just going to play Crusader. Do the free equip on Aspirant here. Hit for 4. Then play Crusader. It's 1 to equip, I can move it back over here. Now I have a protection from green and black, flying 3/2 double striker. They do have 2 white sources now, so if they have any white removal, they can deal with Crusader, but if they don't, they're going to have some really big issues with this card. Because protection means they can't target it, they can't deal damage to it, they can't block it. They just can't do anything to this Crusader. Yeah, and they're just going to keep digging, play a draw 3 spell. Draw 3 cards, lose 3 life is what they played there, so they're down to 5 now, digging for answers. March Toward Perfection, not going to do it here. And they're tapped out outside of one land, and so they are going to scoop them up. Mirren Crusader just going to find kind of a free victory there off of the Bladehold Cleaver, and we are now 2-0 heading into Game 3. Alright, here we are on the play for Game 3. We've got a Scorchwing to end this game off, so hopefully that's going to be good enough. We will keep the hand. Can definitely get flooded. 4 lands in an opener is a little much for how aggressive this format can be. 2 or 3 is like the ideal. But when we have something as powerful as Scorchwing in hand, we're still going to snap keep. Opponent goes for turn 1 Razor Verge Thicket into Kemba's Outfitter, so if they have an equipment with a nice ability, it's going to be even better here, similar to what we did last game with our Hex Gold Hover Wings. I will trade Glider for a combat trick, especially if it's Complete Devotion or something. Titanic Growth, sure, we'll get that out of the way. Keep them from playing another creature for the turn. I'm a little tempted to hold on to Slinger, because we know they're going to have some kind of equipment coming up. The problem is most equipment that they're going to play are going to come with a creature anyway, so they'll get a 2-for-1 on us. Definitely don't want to salvo the 2-1. Yeah, this is a little sketchy, but I'm just going to play the Slinger here. And hope that the equipment they're going to play is just one of the random commons like Mirren Bardiche or something we don't really need to blow up. We'd rather just trade with the Outfitter in the early game, stop their early aggro. Although leaving it behind so we have something to blow up with Scorchwing is also fine, but the odds of them not playing another 3 toughness or less creature anytime soon are really low. So yeah, they play a Slaughter Singer and pass the turn. We've got Hexcold Slash and Rebel Salvo up if we need them. And then we have Scorchwing next turn, which will be phenomenal. Branch Blight Stalker. Alright, they're just like Green-White Toxic looks like. This is why I was so willing to block turn 2 there. It's because Green-White is mostly Toxic strategies where Complete Devotion is the combat trick. +2/+2 to creature, and they get to draw a card if that creature was Toxic. So since Outfitter's not a Toxic creature, I was thinking I might get the combat trick out of the way before they could get the 2-for-1 off of it. Alright. So there we go. We made it to 5 mana. Play our Scorchwing. We get a 4/4 flyer on the board and kill their Slaughter Singer. Even if they remove Scorchwing with some kind of removal spell, we've gotten a 2-for-1 out of it, which is nice. So this is definitely Complete Devotion at this point. Unless they really want to corrupt us. I think I just put Slinger on the Outfitter, because if they have +2/+2 there, they do kill Slinger, but they don't draw the card if it's Complete Devotion. If it's another Titanic Growth as well, I think we're still cool to get out of the way on our 2/2. If this is like Swamp Vraska's Fall, I'm gonna cry. That would be just a big brain play. Just send in like this and pretend you have a combat trick on Scorchwing. Maze's Mantle is the trick, okay. It's a little worse for us because that does stick around. Luckily I've got a Mountain of Removal here. Can't hold up a Rebel Salvo. But I can probably outrace Outfitter. Hit for 7 this turn? Yeah, I can outrace that. Let's just play Chimney Rabble. I can put the Goblin on the Stalker, and if they play any kind of tricks, I can respond with Slash. The only way that this works poorly is if they have a cheap way to kill the Goblin and a cheap combat trick. Then they kill the Goblin, attack with Stalker, I try to Slash, and then they combat trick to stop Slash. That feels very unlikely. I feel like the play pattern's most likely going to end up being we get to put the 1/1 Goblin on the Stalker, then they try to play a removal spell, then I play Hexcold Slash. Or not a removal spell, a combat trick. Or they just don't have a combat trick, so they just don't attack with Stalker. That's also fine. Okay, hit us for 4 with Kemba's Outfitter, and at this point we're just going to slash the Kemba, because that's a scarier card as the game progresses, and we know they don't have a trick that they want to use on the Goblin yet. Back on the outracing plan pretty easily. I guess if I kill Stalker, I can attack with these two and they have no blocks. They're stuck on 3 mana, they didn't play a land this turn. Kemba isn't scary till they have 5. You know what? Yeah, I have changed my mind. I'm actually going to kill the 3-1 so that I can still attack with Rabble without worrying about any blockers here. And now I just have double Rebel salvo if anything happens. Feels pretty great, but our opponent has 4 non-land cards in their hands, so they could have some outs here. Could have powerful enough cards to try to flip the board state around back into their favor. We'll see, though. X-Cold Hoverwings is not going to do it, but it is pretty good. Does this do anything when equipment hit the board? No, it's going to buff the equipped creature, but this cares about when cats hit the board, not equipment. Okay, so we just let it happen. Sure. They're going to pass turn, make sure that they don't die to double removal spell. That is fair enough, because that's what I was going to do. Try to kill them with double removal spell. Do I still do it here? I mean, I definitely kill a flyer. That's just guaranteed. Hit them for 4, put them to 2 life. Guaranteed. I think I do. Like, we force them to chump with Kemba now. They have to chump the 3/3 and go to 1 life. Yeah. I mean, that's just definitely the play. Now I've got 4 creatures down. They're going to need to find 3 blockers. They found 1 blocker total, so that is going to be game. We are now 3-0 as we move on to game 4. Alright, here we are in game 4, opponent on the play. We've got turn 2 Engraver, turn 3 Sentry, 2 great instant speed removal spells as well, so we'll go ahead and keep here. Probably going to have to get a lot of mileage off this Engraver. We have drawn 2 more planes in a row, and we definitely do not need them. I'm ready to ditch some of these lands into the garbage bin. Leonin Lightbringer is the play to start things off from our opponent. That ward is actually pretty awkward for us. The Annex Sentry not going to do much here, so just play our land past the turn. Get ready to discard a land to Engraver and potentially try to crescendo unblocks. Worst case scenario, I end up trading combat tricks with them. Obviously not ideal, but I'm pretty okay with it. Okay, this is even better. I'm pretty okay with that. Getting a Volt Charge out of the way, and they don't get to play a creature this turn because they've pretty much tapped out. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. Yeah, and they straight up just skip the turn now. We do kind of get 2 for 1, but again, I'm pretty okay with it. They skip their turn. They're down a removal spell now. We still get a good amount of value out of that exchange, just in a different way. Can't play Sentry and Salvo, which is rough, but I can Salvo and kill 2 creatures if they try to block Rabble. Okay, they don't try to block Rabble, makes sense. I think I am on Sentry, exile the token, because even if they kill Sentry, they get nothing back. And Justiciar pass the turn. Alright. Oxidative Finisher. Salvo looking real good here. 3 mana, kill your 7-drop. I guess it was a 6-drop for them. It's still pretty great. Don't exactly have great attacks. I could trade Rabble into Lightbringer, I guess, because once they put a Helm on it, it turns into a 4/4, and then I can't trade with it anymore. Yeah, that's fine. Rebel for Lightbringer is fine. Okay, so they are just going to take the 3 to make sure that doesn't happen. Now a Volshock Splitter. It's them a 4/2 and another equipment to start moving around. Okay, they're going to make that Lightbringer a 4/4. Oh, and they're going to send in. Sure, I'm at 17 life. Go for it. Go for it. I am down for the race here. If I had 1 more red source, I'd be really, really happy with the race. Only being able to play 1 spell a turn has been moderately sketchy. Definitely not the end of the world. Stomach, calm down. If I blow up the Aspirant, then I can attack with everything with at least 2 power, send in Justiciar and Rabble. I could also just send in the whole team if I just kill one of their creatures. They're going to kill one of them. They kill Justiciar, take like 5, go to 6. Yeah, the lack of double red is really kind of restricting my options here. I guess I have the mana to just salvo Lightbringer and then they just don't really have attacks. Play it a little slow here, wait for our next red source. This is Ward 2. But we play this slow, they start drawing a card. Well, they draw 1 card off Fair Basilica. We try to outdraw us. I really don't want to lose my Rebel Salvo. I keep trying to race. I'm not in love with this. I've got little chumpies on board. Down to 8 past the turn. Opponent drops a land. They've got the mana to move their equipment around quite a bit. Yeah, so really juice up the Lightbringer here. And probably move a lot of it back to the Aspirants. I'm going to take it for now. Down to 7. Life totals are very even here. Another white source before our second mountain. That is really awkward. 7 on board. 1 off from lethal. Attack here and hold up the salvo for next turn. And then we try to kill them next turn. I guess, again, I have chump blockers, so I could play the Aspirant to be a wider board state and then try to removal spell into lethal next turn. Seems fine too, unless they have just a flying haste card where they can make Lightbringer a flyer. I guess that's kind of how we die here, is if they play the equipment that gives flying and put it on Lightbringer. We should have held on to salvo here. We're still kind of likely to be able to find lethal on the crackback. That would make us a little safer against X-Gold Hover Wings off the top. Be 7 mana total to do that though. 4 to play it, 3 to re-equip. I'm going to make sure I don't die to a combat trick like Blazing Crescendo. We'll give it the chump. Now see what they have post-combat. Oh, not that one. That's my bomb rare. Well, one of them. Yeah, that's bad. Can we still kill them if I kill one of their creatures? They have 1 blocker total. They block Chimney Rabble, take 5. Yeah, I guess I can. Probably. Can't play Scamp. Still only have 1 red source. We have to just hope for the best here. Block Chimney Rabble and die is their play. No, they have an instant here. They have a Hex Gold Slash to survive with 1 life. Crack back for 7, 8, 9, 10. Go to 9 if I attack with Justiciar. I mean, if I don't win this turn, I just lose anyway. Because if I have to play around Hexgold Slash, I have to attack with maybe 1 creature total, so I just attack with Aspirants to put them to 3. Then they could just Slash Sentry equip these things, and I have to go chump chump. maybe play around Hexgold slash attack with just Aspirant is best. But I think I'm going to let them just get the Hexgold slash victory here because we lose to that card either way, and we straight up have the win if it's not Hexgold slash. If it's free from flash or something. But if it was free from flash, I guess they would have cast it. It's the awkward part. Yeah, I mean, again, the other option is attack with only Aspirant, put them to 3. They make this like a 4-4. This is a 6-4. Can't find lethal in, I guess. This card better be a Hexgold slash. I'm gonna be so mad. I'm gonna be so mad if it's not a Hexgold slash. See, I guess this way we could maybe find Scamp lethal. Playing a longer game. Could be some alchemy card I don't even know about. Yeah, it's Hexgold. Okay, so we would have just died if I sent in with everybody. They block Rabble, kill it, kill Justiciar, take 3, go to 2, and then I die on the crackback. Okay. Correct play was made. Whatever happens now, even if I lose this game, all good. Correct play was made in a very stressful situation. Opponent could not play around a 1-1 haste. We could find lethal off of it, maybe. Unlikely, but possible. Okay, so they again have 1 red mana up here. What do they, for 1 red, they make this attack? If their 1 red card is Hexgold slash, they're dead, because they can't kill either of these. If it's free from flesh, they're dead because they don't kill me. They hit me for 2. Wait a second. Almost every 1 red mana card I can think of here, they're just dead if I just block like this. Oh, I guess it could be a creature. But then I scamp and they're dead. Well, that's my only hope. It's not a creature because they didn't play anything. Hexgold slash on Scamp. They scoop him up. Alright. Well. And that's got to make you feel all warm and fuzzy at the end of the game. When you have some really stressful choices and you're like, I don't know. I guess we do this. And then it works out like that. And you know if you played the other way, you would have been just dead on the spot. Feels like some pretty good decisions in the end of that game are going to bring us to 4-0 as we head into Game 5. Here we are in Game 5 on the play. Always hate not having 1 or 2 mana plays in this format, but I don't think this hand is worth a mulligan with Salvo and Volt Charge available if our opponent gets the aggressive lead. So it's an awkward hand. It's a slow hand for the format for sure, but it is going to be a keep for me. And there you go. We've got a 2-drop. Never didn't have it. This happens like every time. I'm like, well, this hand is slow, but I'll keep it. And then I just draw a 2-mana card. And our opponent's on a really slow deck. Very nice one, though. Getting some great cards for their collection. Copperline Gorge and Blackcleave Cliffs there. 2 rare dual lands. And these fast lands are really good in constructed formats. Full-on 4-color. It's my quick draft deck from yesterday. Alright, Charforger hits the board. Probably want to just Volt Charge it so I can get in with everybody. I guess the Justiciar doesn't get in against the 1-1 anyway, so we actually just go for Crescendo first and kill it later. We can Crescendo no matter how they block, get some decent value off of it. Okay, so Crescendo it is. Keep our Justiciar on the board and trade into the We'll clear out the goblin, trade our combat chicken to the goblin. Play our exiled plains and pass the turn. That's a fight spell to kill Aspirant now. Not yet. Fourth land from our opponent. Again, they've got green, red, black, and white available. That is filthy. Another Charforger is really going to clutter up the board. And then an Annihilating Glare, sacking the Prism to kill the Aspirants. And the Charforgers are about to start popping off. We're definitely going to burn one of those away. Although I did hit the 5th mana for the Sky Warden. Feels like our opponent's just going to draw us out of this game, though. Just outvalue us with all their card draw engines off the Charforgers. They can exile 3 oil counters to play the top card of their library this turn. Feels like just stopping those from doing things might even be better, but I guess I could just make sure I don't kill one of their creatures yet. I just play Sky Warden, and then they're not going to draw them any cards unless another one of their creatures dies here, so... As long as they don't Annihilating Glare again, we can still kill the Charforgers before they do anything. Uh-oh, Prophetic Prism might be another Annihilating Glare, because that is a sacrificable artifact. Charforger number 3, what is your draft pod? Okay, well... Well... No, nobody was in Rakdos, and 3 Charforgers were opened, I suppose. Yeah, we might just scoop to that here. That is impossible to get through. It's impossible to get through, and it's going to give our opponent consistent, absurd amounts of card advantage. I guess I just maybe can get some Sky Warden tricks going. If they block with like all the Charforgers here. They just like block with the whole board or something. But if they just double block with 2 goblins, they're about to draw 1,000,000 off these Charforgers. Oh! Okay, we might be getting there now. Okay, so what I can do, put all the Charforgers on top, blow up 2 of them with my removal spells, then my 5/5 doesn't die, I kill the other Charforger and both 1/1s. Okay, never mind. We've gone from what I thought was going to be a definitely losing game to pretty advantaged here, I think. I guess not a ton. Our opponent still has 3 cards in hand, but we're definitely going to be in the lead. After this exchange on board, they're going to have no board state at all, and I'm going to lose 0 creatures. Alright. Well, that was pretty good. They've still got 4 cards to play around with now, though, because they did just draw a card. Game's definitely not over after that, but things are now even instead of far in my opponent's favor. Yeah, pretty nice to just clear out all the Charforgers. What is this? It's indestructible, so Shrapnel Slinger certainly doesn't matter. Enters the battlefield, conjure a Darksteel Ingot and a Darksteel Plate into their hand. What? This is literally just an indestructible 6/6 that I just can't get through. And they drew 2 cards? Okay, yeah, 6 mana, 6/6 indestructible. Our opponent drew a Darksteel Ingot, which is a mana rock, and a Darksteel Plate, which can give another one of their creatures indestructible. Okay, that's an issue. The plate itself, those are both indestructible as well, so the Slinger literally doesn't do anything. My Chimney Rabble here just dies to the Hydra, but at least Justiciar gets in. Only one of my creatures dies to Hydra. I can hit them for 8. So if they don't have a follow-up creature, we can try to kill them next turn. Probably our best bet. Sacrifice a Chimney Rabble or Justiciar to hit them for 3 additional damage this combat. Sky Warden's guaranteed to get in because of the Menace. I guess they can't really afford to attack with Hydra yet, which is also good. But yeah, now they're down to 8 life facing this board state. Kind of our best bet. We've still got a dragon that can shoot them in the face for 3. Okay, they have a Mere Convert. They've got another blocker and a Long Legs. They've got 2 more blockers. Not what we wanted to see at all. Now they can just double block Skywarden through the Menace and keep the Hydra because it's indestructible. We have to just play Scamp and pass. And now they can just put a Darksteel Plate on something and have 2 indestructible blockers. Still got outs. We've still got flyers in here. Hover Wings would obviously be absurd. That'd probably be our best draw. We also have that Dragon. That would be phenomenal as well. Those are our biggest outs. Actually, Annex Sentry can kill that thing too. Oh my god. Phyrexia, all will be one called. Said you forgot about me. White Sun's Twilight with the indestructible creature on board is definitely a way to lose a game of Magic, and we are going to be 4-1. Yeah, I think the saddest part about that too is that they didn't need any other cards but White Sun's Twilight to kill us there. We just hit a couple more lands, so just the Twilight itself, as it tends to do in this format, just single-handedly wins the game, even if they didn't have a big indestructible threat. 4-1, heading into round 6. Alright, here we are in game 6. Really good hand here. We get to start with a Scamp, which means we're chipping in for 1 damage till they play a creature, because it's a 1/1 haste. And then our follow-up creatures are technically equipment spells, so they will be putting oil counters onto the Sawblade Scamp, getting it ready to shoot our opponent in the face. And not only that, but they're also just really good spells. They're our best equipment in the deck, War Whip and Cleaver. Axiom Engraver from our opponent. We cannot kill that with a Hexgold Slash. Probably just play our War Whip and pass. I could Volt Charge it here, but I'm going to keep putting creatures on board and then start clearing out the path for them when they're no longer summoning sick. Mono red so far from our opponent. We did see that mono red mythic rare, so that's definitely a strategy in the alchemy format of Phyrexia All Will Be One. So maybe they got one in their draft pod as well. Volt Charge on the War Whip. The War Whipped Rebel. A little sad, but that's okay. Alright, 4 mana, we drop Bladehold Cleaver. Pass the turn. Probably should have tapped Scamp in case they have 1 damage to all creatures. Couple ways to do that. There's Hazardous Blast and Cinder Slash Ravager. So I guess I should have realized I was going to be giving Scamp an oil counter next turn no matter what. I like to leave the Scamp at like 1 in case of Proliferate, but we have none in our deck, so we should just be using it the moment it gets the oil, so that it doesn't end up dying with multiple oil counters on it and getting some missed value for us. Really don't want to lose out on some extra points of damage here. Barbed Batterfist. Our opponent did play a Plains as well, so they are red-white. Double Barbed Batterfist. They took all our Batterfists. Okay. They're just going to pass turn. Let's shoot for 1. Really, really big fan of the Bladehold Cleaver this game. The fact that I'm going to be trading off and getting some stuff back is super nice. I feel like my hand's like powerful enough on the defensive to just send in the 4/4 here, and if they take any trades, alright, we're golden, that's perfect. If they don't, whatever, we'll deal some damage to them, play a 1/3 and hold up a Hexgold Slash. Alright, play a 1/3, hold up a Hexgold Slash it is. I guess I could play a Slinger, but rather have the mana for Hexgold Slash. Alright, Engraver's going to keep putting in work. Going to discard another Kemba's Outfitter to draw another card. Probably looking for higher mana cost creatures, some bigger spells, bigger threats in general. Chimney Rabble has hit the board from our opponent. Big hasting threat. That does kind of mess up our Hexgold Slash, makes it significantly worse. Really racing here. We'll definitely slash one of the Rebel tokens. Could even just trade a Scamp into another one. That wouldn't be horrible. I think I want to leave my Scamp around though, because I've got another Volt Charge and a Slash. We're going to get more damage out of this thing. I'm honestly not that worried about filtering cards away. I'm actually going to go trade here, shoot that, take 3. Ooh, at our own Chimney Rabble. I can't resist. I don't know if this is right. Maybe holding up Volt Charge is better, but it's so funny. Chimney Rabble, war! Let's go. It's pretty close. Like, both plays are pretty good. It's probably the best play. They're down to 12 here. Now we hit them down to 5 with a Scamp on board. Just Volt Charge their face next turn and kill them. Yeah, that definitely worked out really well, since they didn't go for any trumps. Scamp can ping them, they'll be at 4 life. Then we can untap, draw a card, Volt Charge their face, put them to 1 life, and finish them off with the Scamp during our turn. If they don't get any lifelink here, or kill our Sawblade Scamp, they are dead. Sulpheme Mayhem Dominus. Big, scary card, but we're incredibly happy to see it because it means they're tapped out and we don't have to worry about any tricks from our opponent as we Volt Charge them to the face for lethal. And there's the concession. We are now 5-1 as we head into round 7. Here we are in round 7. I'm not in love with this opening hand. The lack of a red source is pretty rough. Got 9 in the deck. Got 1 and 3 here. To turn 2 glider no matter what. If I hit the red source, the hand's incredible. Feels like I have to mulligan though, because if I don't, I'm just on Incisor Glider and sit. I'm gonna mulligan that one. This is better. Probably get rid of Aspirant, although like Slinger on 2 is not that good. Annex is really good on 3. Cleaver's super good later. The one thing I don't like about getting rid of Aspirant is it makes it a little harder to play the Cleaver, because the Aspirant could make it cheaper. I could get rid of a land, and then if I hit any land, I'm good. I can play everything. I really don't want to flood out. We're on a 16 land deck here. Not on the draw, though. I think I'm just going to keep the land, kind of guarantee we get to Cleaver naturally and just go 2, 3, 4 curve. It's pretty close between those options. Cleaver should help us not flood out, because it's going to give us a bunch of extra creatures in our hand if we trade the equipped creature off ever. Alright, Axiom Engraver. Okay, there's the 4th land. I'll just curve out with the Annex Sentry. Might as well. I'm not going to Volt Charge the Engraver. And now if Annex Sentry dies to any kind of removal early, that's fine. They're only getting back a 1/3. Another Axiom Engraver from our opponent. This one we'll let them keep and just play our Bladehold Cleaver. Block the Slinger, take 1, or are they going to... okay, they're going to take the 1. And say, or are they going to Hexgold Slash the Sentry, take 0. Alright, post-combat, Hexgold Slash Sentry is a choice. They could have killed it when we declared the attack and killed our Shrapnel Slinger, but I guess they wanted to play around combat tricks. That's the safer play, but they would have completely ruined my day if they just killed when I declared the attack. They would have killed both our creatures and taken 0. But they couldn't know what was in our hand, so they were just playing it safe, I suppose. Stay aggressive here, get the Aspirants out of the way. But I definitely would have gotten greedy there. Slashed the Sentry on the Declare and tried to kill both creatures with the Engraver double block on the 2/2. Bladehold Cleaver mirror match. Here we go. I guess we just see who drafts the best card. Oh, just take 4. Interesting. Go to 7. Well, just make it impossible for them to attack in, because we'll get the card no matter where the Cleaver is. So we'll put it on just this year here. Rebuke. Destroy the equipment and the creature. That's really annoying. That's actually just perfect for this matchup. Wow. Does my equipment trigger? Since they die at the same time, I think it does still trigger one time. No? What? If 2 creatures die at the same time, they see each other die and they both trigger, but if... if a creature and an equipment die at the same time, the equipment doesn't see the creature die? And if it's an ordering thing where technically one of them died first, it should have been the creature dying first, because that's the first thing in the list of things to do on the... That's so weird. I hate that. But I guess it's how Magic works. Take 4 down to 16. That's so weird to me. Because creatures will like see each other die all the time. Right, like if you're in a game of Commander and you have a card, if you have a creature on board that says whenever a creature dies, draw a card, and then somebody plays a board wipe, you're going to draw like 50 cards, even though the creature on board is what was letting you draw. Apparently that's not how it works with equipments and creatures. And what is this, double block here? Oh, we only kill 1 Engraver, but we don't lose the Rebels, that's fine. Yeah, we'll Crescendo here. I could Crescendo Slinger and put them to 2. I don't have a second Volt Charge, though. Need to draw into the flying shoot your face for 3 thing. I think it's probably better to keep our creatures on board. Kill another blocker. Ooh, Kemba's Outfitter, that's not bad. That's another creature. Could slash the other Engraver as well. Again, just whittling down their board state. Probably okay. Not really going to be killing too much bigger than a 1/3. Alright, play a land, play a Chimney Rabble. Really, really good here. 3/3 and a 1/1 blocker. Take 3 down to 13. Just this year's fine. Pass the turn. Could trade a 2/2 in a Rabble, but we're still just trying to find a wide enough board state. Kill them. And they just cannot stop drawing gas here. Well, pretty unfortunate ending to this game. Don't think there's much we could have played differently. If I end up top-decking the dragon that shoots something for 3, then I guess we could have just went for the extra damage combat trick there. The fact that I don't draft a card from the spellbook when they Molten Rebuke is so... I really, really hate that. That's just a massive bummer. To lose to an interaction like that. Alright, we were never getting any gas here. Just gonna move on to round number a lot. Here we are, 5-2, headed into round 8. This will be a definite keep. Do want to hit a land, but if we hit just one land, we can cast everything in the hand. I get to start with Justiciar into Incisor Glider, which should be great. Hopefully we can draw one of our couple of Shrapnel Slingers, get this Incubation Sac out of here before it makes any 3/3s. That would be fantastic. I suppose Annex Sentry can exile it as well until they blow up our Annex Sentry. So that's not bad either. Opponent is on green, white, black with Razor Verge Thicket into Swamp. Alright, we will just Annex Sentry the sack for now since we haven't drawn any Shrapnel Slingers. And poke for 3 with the Justiciar, put them down to 17 and us up to 23. 3 mana, they are going to drop a Contagious Vorak, pretty annoying card for us. Going to block our stuff pretty well and draw them another card. Crisp Clean, 2 for 1. If I had double white, I would be in the market for Incisor Glider into Ossification, but since I don't, I'm kind of okay with just Volt Charging the Vorak and hitting for 3. Seems okay to me. I still have more removal left over afterwards. I guess I could play Glider and just offer the 1-for-1 trade into Vorak. Doesn't feel great. Yeah, I mean, it's not horrible. They are on green, so we might want our removal for larger power toughness creatures later. Alright, so the trade into Vorak is going to happen. We're going to get it out of the way. We're still going to have all our 3 removal spells left over. They are going to go for Venomous Brutalizer. We're going to have to Ossify or Rebel Salvo that. It is too big to Volt Charge. Well, I can Ossify and play Shrapnel Slinger this turn, so that's the best use of our mana to stay aggressive and curve out a bit, so that's what we'll do. And we're not going to corrupt our opponent here, but we are going to hit for 1 poison. So we're on the way to making Incisor Glider better. We're working on it. And with 1 poison on our opponent, Volt Charge will proliferate to put a 2nd. So we just really need to get 1 more hit with Sentry in, and there you go. We can blow up the Shepherd with the Volt Charge, proliferate, and then hit them with Sentry, and they're corrupted. If Incisor Glider stays on board, it's going to start buffing our whole board every time it attacks. I'm going to play around the 6 mana card that makes us discard a card here. So we can still have Rebel Salvo if they play that. Big 5/5 Death Touch makes us discard a card when it hits the board. Because that'd be pretty bad for us if I play the Plains. And then they cast that. Contagious Vorak number 2 is the play. Very good card yet again. We'll probably have to salvo that, get it out of the way. And then we are out of gas. And we're Rot Priest as well, that's less concerning. And a Fetchling to draw another card because we're corrupted now. Yikes, that was a great turn for our opponent. We have found another land, unfortunately. So Slinger attacks as a 3/3, Sentry attacks as a 2/5. If Sentry dies, they're going to get their sack back. So they might try to triple block Sentry. And then I could get some really good work done with Rebel Salvo. And Slinger for Vorak is not a terrible trade, so I guess that's where we're at. Send in the squad and hope for the best. Kind of what we're stuck doing when we run out of options. Alright, Slinger for Vorak it is, take 4. Sure. They do have a lot of poison on their board. I don't like that. So I'm going to have to salvo this Rot Priest and still take 4 total poison, go to 7 poison counters. Yeah, not really where I want to be. I mean, I go to 7 even if I don't salvo it. Hit them for 4 next turn. They're definitely going to outrace us. We have to just hit something. I guess if I salvo Rot Priest and then just hold up blockers, I can block 2 of these and just take 1 more poison next turn. They have a good follow-up play, we're just dead. Although that kind of remains the same regardless. Yeah, this is just rough all around. Take it here. Hope to hit the dragon that shoots them for 3 or something. We just kill their follow-up play, then shoot them for 3 with the dragon. Or Blazing Crescendo. We do have multiple 3 damage spells to be an out. Alright, well, I guess we lose. I can salvo Vraska, but the way that Magic works, as you can see by going into full control mode, is they get to use the Planeswalker before I can do anything, so I don't get to kill it until it's already killed one of our cards. Yep. Pretty rough. And a Crawling Chorus as well for a follow-up, and we've just got lands. That is going to be game. It is going to unfortunately end not quite at a 7-win run today. Looks like a 5-3 run out of this Boros equipment deck. I think this deck was super capable of getting all the way to a 7-win run. We just had some very explosive plays from our opponent with White Sun's, Twilights, Vraskas. Pretty nasty stuff there. Just a little too many land drops in some of those games. Don't think we should have been down to 15 lands with this deck. I think it just happens sometimes. Yep, overall, big fan of the deck. Loved everything in it. I think everything did its job pretty well. No huge overperformers or huge underperformers. I guess I only got to Scorchwing like 1 game, which was kind of sad. And then the Cleaver not working against Molten Rebuke was pretty rough for the other loss. But yeah, I don't know. Liked the deck, enjoyed it a lot. Loved the alchemy cards we played with. Cleaver, Outfitter, and Scorchwing were all pretty nasty, pretty sick cards. And I would play with them again, but that is going to end today's draft. Well, that is going to end today's video. If you enjoyed this video and you'd like to see more, just stay tuned. You can like, comment, and subscribe to tell the YouTube algorithm to send you some more new recommended feeds. If you'd like to hang out with me live, you can check out the Twitch channel in the link in the description below. And if you'd like to support the channel directly, you can check out the Patreon in the link in the description below. And as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon for some more Magic Arena.